gonna look like Benavidez. You.
He had one leg.
You gonna look like
He had
one
one leg.
leg.
He had one leg.
I'm gonna make
He
you
had one
do the
leg.
stanky leg. What you want to bet on?
No, but yeah, it's definitely my call. The ball's in my court. What they say, I'm the A side now.
Errol gave me an opportunity and a shot at becoming the first male boxer, undisputed, in any division in the 4-belt era. And
forget the pound-for-pound list. Forget the titles. When it comes to real boxing fire, the kind that grabs hardcore fans and casuals alike, the Crawford versus Spence rematch is still the fight the sport needs. Yes, even more than Crawford versus Canelo.
We signed and contracted to do a rematch, and that's what it is right now.
Do you know when it's going to be, when we can hear?
I don't got no date right now, but I know that's the next fight that Terence Crawford.
The first Crawford-Spence fight was a beatdown. No spin, no excuses. Crawford gave Errol Spence Jr. the worst night of his career, dropping him 3 times before finishing him in the 9th. It was clean, brutal, and historic. But in boxing, one beating doesn't always end the story. Sometimes it makes the sequel bigger. Their recent face-off proved exactly that. Now, with both men possibly moving to 154 and Spence determined to redeem what he calls an off night, the narrative is already in place.
It's just immediate rematch clause?
I don't know if it's gonna be at 54 or 47, but I'm sure he's probably gonna push the weight up. But there's not gonna be no change in the decision. The performance still is gonna be the same. Might be even a little bit better. So he might want to watch out before he activates.
And here's the real twist. This rematch could outdraw Crawford versus Canelo in every way that counts. Post-fight excuses are nothing new, but Spence has been steady and open about something being off. Before the Crawford fight, he'd been out of the ring for over a year. He was boiling himself down to 147 for what was likely the last time. He even admitted beforehand that the cut was too much and he needed to move up. Veteran fighters like Sean Porter and analysts like Tim Bradley noticed it too. Spence looked off. Stiff, sluggish, flat-footed. Not the relentless pressure puncher who's walked opponents down for years.
Can't tell you I wasn't in camp.
At the division, he dominated for his entire career. All of a sudden, when it came time for this fight, he looked different. Why?
I wasn't in camp with him. I can't tell you. I don't know if his body finally broke down from being at 147 for too long. I don't know if it was him flying from Dallas to Las Vegas, which has different heat and temperatures, and losing weight affects your body.
I just want y'all to realize that Errol Spence is the younger fighter between him and Terence Crawford. He's the bigger fighter between him and Terence Crawford.
Now things will be different. Spence versus Crawford at 154 means both men come in fully rehydrated. No excuses, no built-in advantage. We might finally see the fight everyone expected the first time. And let's be honest, Crawford versus Canelo sounds exciting on paper, a P4P star versus a P4P king. But once you look deeper, it's more spectacle than real war. Canelo is a full 168-pound fighter. Crawford only recently touched 154 after spending his entire career at 147. That's a 21-pound jump across divisions. And while Crawford is a generational talent, Canelo is a tank whose power is built for that weight. Crawford's skill could turn it into a chess match. But the power difference is so massive that one wrong move could end everything.
He gave me that opportunity to fight him. It's only right that if that's what he want to do, I'll give it back to him. Outside of him,
Bob Arum said it perfectly. Canelo is simply too big and too strong. And this is coming from the man who promoted Crawford for more than a decade. On top of that, the stakes in the Crawford-Canelo fight don't feel organic. There's no rivalry, no history, no bad blood. The hype would have to be manufactured, built on forced narrative and media spin. With Spence, everything is real. The tension is real. The stakes are personal. The fan investment is already there, and from a business standpoint, it makes even more sense. The first Crawford-Spence PPV pulled around 700K buys. A huge number considering there was no crossover megastar like Floyd or Canelo involved. That was pure boxing interest. Now Spence has a redemption story. Crawford has a new belt at 154. Both men are healthier, bigger, and better marketed. The first fight left emotional business unresolved.
Make the fight look different in the second time than in the first time. I do believe that, but that's the only thing that I can actually sense because, I will be on.
This matchup has all the ingredients for a $1 million+ PPV event, especially if it lands in Vegas again or in a packed stadium in Texas, where Spence's fan base shows up heavy. That's already more than most recent Canelo fights have drawn, outside of his trilogy with GGG. And remember, Canelo versus Jermo Charlo underperformed, barely pushing past 600K buys despite massive Showtime promotion. Crawford Spence carries far more emotional weight, and there's another twist. Terence Crawford isn't the quiet, low-key technician anymore. Since beating Spence, we've seen a different Bud. He's talking more, cracking jokes, calling out names. He knows his value now, and for the first time, the fans are truly paying attention.
It's undisputed. Look what he beat. Look what he beat. What he did to Spence, and how he did it. That's 3 fights to me. And it took 4 fights out of Spence, right? Yeah, I'm a fighter, so I can tell you when you get punished like that.
Yeah, I was there ringside watching the fight.
It takes a few years
different.
out of you. Don't see the years right now, but it sort of takes something out of that person.
He told the media in early 2024 that Canelo wasn't the priority. He even hinted that a Spence rematch at 154 meant more to him. If we do it again, I want us both healthy, both at our best. That way, nobody can say anything after. That's not a man chasing a payday. That's a man chasing legacy, Doc, and don't overlook the controversy around Spence. Since the loss, he's dealt with fans saying he's washed, that the car crash changed him, that the eye surgeries ruined his timing.
The rematch, you guys booked.
Which rematch?
Crawford and Spence.
Oh, yeah. The Spence fans. Spence fans, they hold it out. They believe, they man could get it back.
Yeah, well, that's what makes a fan. So they can hope all they want.
He's heard it all, and he wants to prove everyone wrong. Crawford has been accused of beating a diminished Spence, with some saying it wasn't a true showdown because Errol wasn't at full strength. The answer? A rematch at 154 with no excuses. That controversy drives interest, the online debates, the breakdowns, the criticism. It's all fuel. That's exactly what Crawford versus Spence 2 delivers.
If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great, so, I'm with it. So, I'll be going for Bud, if he fight Canelo, I'll be going for him. I don't know if he gonna win or lose, but I definitely be going for Crawford, I think.
Errol Spence Jr. remains one of boxing's most talked about names. Not for what he's done recently, but for what he might still achieve or fail to. While Terence Crawford chases greatness, possibly moving up to 168 to face Canelo Alvarez, Spence's path is less clear, caught between redemption and uncertainty. The rematch with Crawford may be the purest choice, but boxing isn't just about legacy, it's about business. Right now, Oscar De La Hoya is making moves, proposing a mega fight between Spence and Virgil Ortiz Jr. in Dallas. A matchup that could either redefine Spence's story or bury it.
To make Virgil Ortiz versus Errol Spence Jr. in AT&T Stadium. And I want to chime in and talk about it. I think it's kind of irrelevant for Oscar to be calling.
The idea isn't just promotional hype. De La Hoya told Fight Hype he's already targeting a TNT Stadium, a Texas-sized venue for a Texas-sized fight between 2 Texas-born warriors. In terms of gate and buzz, that fight could easily pull in 60,000 fans. Spence remains a hometown favorite in Dallas, while Ortiz is the young, undefeated knockout artist just hitting his peak.
It is my pleasure to talk to boxing icon, the face of Golden Boy Promotions, multiple-time world champion, Oscar De La Hoya. How you doing today, Oscar?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir, man. It is a pleasure to talk to you. One of the first things that I want to ask you is talk about Virgil Ortiz Jr.'s performance. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you, Oscar. I expected him to have.
It sells itself, but let's be honest, it's also a dangerous, high-risk fight for Spence after a 2-year layoff and a humbling loss that shook his entire aura. Crawford didn't just beat him, he erased him. That's not an exaggeration. He made Spence look out of place in the ring, and a loss like that leaves scars mental, physical, and reputational.
Anybody. I don't care if it's Boots, I don't care if it's Thurman, I don't care if it's Spence or anybody. Crawford, I really don't care. I would love to fight someone like he's a fighter. I don't think of him, he's just, if he fights and he fights us, whatever.
Virgil Ortiz Jr. isn't just another top prospect. He's a wrecking ball. At 23, with 21 knockouts, he's been steamrolling opponents and recently scored his big name. Scalped by defeating Israel Madrimov, the same Madrimov who went 12 tough rounds with Crawford at 154. Many, including Canelo Alvarez and Eddie Hearn, thought Crawford might have lost that fight. Here's where it gets tricky. If Crawford struggled with Madrimov and Ortiz handled him more easily, Ortiz becomes a bigger threat to Spence than some want to admit. De La Hoya knows this too. He's not just making a fight, he's circling the wounded. And right now, Errol Spence, whether he likes it or not, looks like prey.
I'm trying to fight the best, but you see that it's not up to it's not under my control. Like if it was under my control, I would have fought the world champions already at 140. I would have fought him at 147.
Fans might not be clamoring for Spence versus Ortiz yet, but that could change quickly once Canelo fights Skull. And if Crawford doesn't have a fight lined up in time, the Spence-Ortiz matchup might be the one that happens. The risk for Spence is huge. Ortiz has never faced someone with Spence's resume, but he's young, hungry, and explosive. He fights with bad intentions and isn't coming off a 9-round beatdown. Spence, on the other hand, hasn't stepped in the ring since 2023, and his last image for fans was him getting dropped. Bleeding and broken.
Showdown between Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Errol Spence in Dallas Stadium is generating buzz. Spence hasn't fought since his loss to Crawford, leaving questions about his comeback. Ortiz is in his prime and hungry for bigger challenges. Is this a fair fight or a setup for a comeback story?
The stakes aren't just wins and losses, they're legacy. If Spence returns and beats Ortiz, his stock soars and the redemption arc is complete. The Crawford rematch becomes even bigger. But a loss, especially a bad one, could end everything. No rematch, no comeback, no soft landing. Just another cautionary tale in a sport full of them. That's why De La Hoya wants this fight now. It's not just timing, it's opportunity. Catch Spence before he's retired or broken. Give Ortiz a big name win. Tap into Texas money. Sell out a TNT Stadium and let the headlines write themselves.
I just don't know that Spence was young enough to take that kind of beating at this point. That's where you have the question marks. I think if Spence was, 25 years old, for argument's sake, that hungry determination can bring you back. But 33, you're rich. You've made him a lot of money already too. And you're rich. It's a bit tougher, I think, to come back.
Meanwhile, Crawford is taking heat from Canelo, who claims Crawford doesn't even deserve his undefeated record. In Canelo's view, Crawford lost to Madrimov, or at best, it was a draw. Crawford did edge Madrimov on the cards, but the performance wasn't dominant, awkward, tactical, and lacking the snap he showed against Spence. He won, yes, but he didn't send a message. That's fuel for Canelo, who's making it clear he doesn't see Crawford as invincible. Even Eddie Hearn chimed in, saying Bud didn't do enough to earn the belt.
At the end of the round where he was trying to steal the round. But I just was trying to counter him, but at the same time, he had a good game plan. He had a lot of feints, and I was just trying to dictate when he was going to come a lot of times I was wrong. I was touching him up with the jab. I think my jab was beating him up all through the fight, but he landed a couple.
Irony is strong. Crawford dominates Spence, gets criticized for a tough win at 154, and now faces backlash for moving up to 168, a jump many call too risky. Meanwhile, Spence is mocked as damaged goods, yet he could step into a sellout stadium against a killer like Ortiz.
I wanted to see that immediately after that fight, but now time has kind of ran its course. I don't want to see Errol. I just don't want to see Errol be done like that. That's all. Yeah, I believe Errol Spence is a generational talent, great fighter. What happened to him against Bud, I don't want to see that again.
You don't think he'll put up a better fight this time, man, the second time around?
I don't even believe it.
Crawford isn't just a master in the ring. He's proven to be a master of narrative outside it too. His latest comments on the Pound for Pound podcast with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo set the boxing world ablaze. When asked about Errol Spence Jr., the man he dismantled in July 2023, Crawford didn't hold back. He claims Spence isn't Hall of Fame material and subtly criticized his resume, pointing to what he sees as shallow accomplishments and an unimpressive welterweight reign. I could retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't, Crawford said bluntly.
In one division, the
but he didn't unify by
WBA.
4. He wasn't undisputed. He
wasn't
undisputed.
He wasn't. No, what I'm saying is they already called him a weight bully. He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. He beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
You know what I mean? That's a good win. I'm still a fan. I hope he do well. But like once it got to the point where I moved up in weight and I'm in the same weight as Spence, it's just like, oh man, you ain't fighting nobody. You this, you that, you this, you that. So now they trying to blemish my accomplishment.
He noted that Spence has only fought in one division, never unified all the belts, and never became undisputed. They've already labeled him a weight bully. Crawford dismissed Spence's notable wins as underwhelming, pointing out he beat Kell Brook coming off a loss and an eye injury, and Sean Porter. To be fair, the numbers support Crawford's argument.
Now, no, how? He fought in one division. They already called him a weight bully. He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. He beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
Like I said, you know what I mean?
He's a 3-division world champion, undisputed at 140, and the first male boxer in the 4-belt era to become undisputed in 2 weight classes. Spence, by contrast, unified 3 welterweight titles, but never moved up or chased undisputed status until Crawford made it a topic. The question remains, is Crawford being brutally honest or strategically petty?
He is, you know? For sure. Rematch?
I like the rematch. I want to know how healthy Errol is. And but I think that a lot of fighters that aren't able to make adjustments in real time, they're able to go back to the gym and
Let's not forget the Spence-Crawford fight was a financial powerhouse, pulling 700 KPPV buys and generating over $59 million, plus another $20 million from ticket sales. This wasn't just another title unification. It was a mega event. That kind of money gets attention. Crawford and Spence each walked away with $25 million, creating generational wealth. And where there's that much money, there's usually a rematch clause glowing in the background. The controversy comes in because Crawford is too smart to throw Hall of Fame jabs for no reason. This may be less about his true opinion of Spence's legacy and more about stirring the pot, fanning the flames, and setting the stage for a sequel.
To boost him up. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna do that. Because I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. Everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him. I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got.
Let's be honest, Spence has been out of the spotlight since that beating. Some call it humbling, others a total breakdown. Rumors circulated about lingering physical issues, especially with his vision and balance. Against Bud, he looked flat, slow, and reactive, far from the relentless body puncher who dismantled fighters like Kell Brook and Danny Garcia. That night in Vegas, Spence was outclassed in every way. Still, he's not the type to stay down, and everyone knows it.
Yeah, about the Hall of Fame comment.
Well, that's. I mean, look, that's his opinion.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how he feels, and that's.
What do you think?
No,
What
I
do you-
think
do
no,
you
I
believe it?
think the opposite. I think the opposite.
Okay.
I've came out and I've said
I don't want to
that.
fall.
I came out and I've said that Errol Spence is a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
You know, in my eyes, you know what I mean. It doesn't matter one division or whatever. 6 years he was reigning, right? Never ducked the big smoke. Finally got in the ring with Crawford.
Crawford's comments feel less like closure and more like bait. There's unfinished business. Even if the first fight was one-sided, a rematch still makes money. If Spence wants redemption, or just a massive payday before stepping away, there's only one name on the table. Crawford might be playing chess, not checkers. What better way to generate buzz than by questioning Spence's entire legacy? Think from Spence's perspective. He had an almost flawless run before facing Crawford. Unified belts, headline PPVs, built his name fighting top competition. Now Crawford, fresh off pursuing a fight with Canelo Alvarez, starts downplaying his entire career. Pride and ego aren't going to let that slide. That alone could push Spence to demand a rematch, ready or not.
Hall of Fame. He was a very good fighter. If there was a Hall of Very Good, he would be going into that. But Hall of Fame, no. If you were in charge of writing a Hall of Fame speech for Errol Spence, and I was in charge of writing a Hall of Fame speech for Bud Crawford, my Hall of Fame speech, listing my credentials, listing my accolades for Bud Crawford, would sound a lot better than your speech.
And that's exactly what Crawford might be aiming for. The cynical take. His path to all-time greatness is already set. But to reach legendary, mainstream, iconic status, he needs another tentpole moment. Beating Spence again, especially if Spence is sharper this time, could add that exclamation point. And doing it while talking trash the whole way. That's how stars are made. That's how you become iconic. There's also the chance Crawford is trying to control the narrative. If Spence returns and racks up a few wins, the media could start spinning redemption stories or questioning if Spence was simply drained or off his game. With this interview, Crawford is shutting that down. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a one-division fighter.
Went on Pound for Pound podcast, and he said that Errol Spence will not be a Hall of Famer. Can you just give me your thoughts on that?
I disagree.
Do you disagree? Why do you disagree?
I feel as though Errol had a great career. If it wasn't for Bud, he would have been undisputed. So he went and got every belt one by one by one. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
He beat damaged goods, but is setting his version of the truth before anyone else can spin it. The Hall of Fame debate will always be subjective, of course. Spence's resume, while lacking multi-division flair, is solid. Wins over Mikey Garcia, Porter, Brooke, and Hughes aren't insignificant. Without Crawford in his path, Spence might have become the undisputed king himself. But history doesn't care about what-ifs. Legacy is written in ink, not imagination. The irony, if Crawford truly thinks Spence isn't Hall of Fame material, you'd expect him to stop mentioning him. Yet he keeps bringing him up because he knows the world is still watching. And maybe, deep down, he wants to beat Spence again, not for legacy or bragging rights, but for money, power, and relevance. In boxing, that's the holy trinity.
A Hall of Famer. What do we have to question now? Do we question that is Errol Spence not a Hall of Famer? Or do we question Terence Crawford's resume? Because if he's not a Hall of Famer, then I thought you said the best fight the best. So do we question the resume, or do we just say Errol Spence is not a Hall of Famer? Which one is?
So, while fans argue over whether Spence still has it, don't be surprised if all this talk leads exactly where Crawford wants. One more night under the bright lights. This time, it won't be about undisputed titles. It will be personal.